So Carrie Fox, thank you for joining us on Inside Your Library. And can you tell us a little bit about your role at the Seattle Public Library and how long you've been with the organization?
Sure. Thank you, Brian, and thanks for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm happy to be here. I'm an adult services librarian and I work in mobile services. I have been with the library for 16 years. 15 of those have in fact been with mobile services. Mobile works out of the Community Engagement Services Department at the Downtown Library. We provide outreach and access to library materials for Seattle residents who cannot reach their libraries.
And when you say cannot reach the libraries, what does that mean?
People who have barriers to easily using the library, people for reasons of age or disability or low income may not easily access the library.
Carrie, how did you become a mobile services librarian?
Well, Brian, I frankly fell into it. I became involved in librarianship because I feel very passionate about intellectual freedom and free and equal access to information for everyone in our community. And I got involved with mobile services really early in my library career and immediately saw it as a way to improve access to people in the community without the same resources, and a way to really deeply engage with those people in the community. It's been enormously rewarding. There are places that I've been visiting for 15 years, and there are individuals in those places that I've known for all of that time. You get close with some of your patrons. I know everybody does throughout the library system, and that aspect of it has really been a gift. When I started, I was something of a youngster, and I didn't have a lot of connection with older adults in the community, and you know, like a lot of young people, they were maybe a little bit invisible to me. And I now absolutely love working with older adults and couldn't imagine doing anything different.
And how do you go about delivering the program to the public? Is it like most people probably think of the Bookmobile? Is that it?
Absolutely. That is what people think of most of the time. And we do have one of those, a Bookmobile, which is exactly what you think of. What we do is we have 8 staff who are dedicated to supporting mobile services, but we really couldn't do what we do without the support of the entire library. And we do have staff from other departments who rotate through and come out on Bookmobile runs with us. You'll hear me using Bookmobile and mobile services kind of interchangeably, and I'll try to explain that a little bit more in just a moment. We have 4 vehicles plus a mail program. 2 of those vehicles in our fleet we use to haul book carts, which are actually like rolling bookshelves that we bring inside of facilities while we visit for people to browse, and we kind of set up a mini library inside for people. We also have a van that we use for deliveries. And then we have that Bookmobile, which is just what you picture with stairs going inside and bookshelves, and it's a library on wheels. We usually have 2 of those vehicles on the road every weekday.
And typically, how many people benefit from this program, or how many people do you visit every month?
We visit 3,000 to 4,000 people every month, and that's at 120 different locations. That encompasses our home service and our books by mail as well. You might be surprised to know that we check out more items than some of the smaller branches in the library system. So we actually do a bit more business than Madrona and about twice as much as New Holly, although it's not a competition.
So when we think that the library really has 27 branches, including Central, it's really more like 28 when you count the Bookmobile.
In a sense. I just wanted to add, while I'm in competitive mode, we also happen to rank 10th out of those 27 locations in circulating non-English language books. And for us, that's mostly Russian, Spanish, and Vietnamese.
So Carrie, can you tell us about the program, the people that you see in the program?
Sure. We see 3,000 to 4,000 people each month at 120 different locations. The people that we see are preschool-age children and their teachers, older adults, and people with disabilities. We do visit many low-income buildings where there's a lot of intersection with age and disability. We tailor how we serve our patrons to best meet their needs and meet them where they are with 6 different styles of service. We have that walk-on bookmobile, which is designed to serve preschool age children. It's pretty neat. There are bins of books that are right at kid level with the front of the books facing out so they can flip through and choose books on their own to take back to their classrooms. And then we have a mail program and home service program, which are to deliver materials to people in private homes. We make deposits to group homes to be shared by residents and used to support activities there. And we go room to room in nursing homes where people cannot leave their rooms easily. And then we have lobby service, which is like a mini library set up in a shared space of a retirement home or affordable housing building. And that's where we bring those rolling book carts in with the shelves. And we choose the books to go out. There's everything from peak picks to mostly popular reading, and about half of what we bring is in large print.
And how do you determine that selection? Is it just a librarian selection of books that come out, or can people request the types of books that they want to receive?
People can definitely request the books that they receive. We'll bring holds out just like you could go into your neighborhood branch and pick up your holds. We'll bring your holds to you.
Oh, that's great. I bet you people love that service.
They're excited to see us when we show up, let me tell you.
Great. So the library is strongly committed to centering equity in its work and eliminating barriers to access for people. So, given this focus, how has mobile services adapted over time to help the library achieve some of its equity goals?
Well, I would first say that the investment made in mobile services really highlights the library's commitment to these principles, and that's because of our focus on working with people with the greatest barriers to access, barriers like age, disability, and income. But going way back, the library primarily used the Bookmobile program to go into neighborhoods where there were no branch libraries. But even then, we were striving to reach people with additional barriers to access. For example, back in 1931, the Bookmobile had a stop at Boeing in order to serve shift workers there, and we visited children in orphanages. By the 1950s, we were delivering books to women at the county jail. And then in the early 1970s, we began to move away from traditional Bookmobile service and adapt our service for adults to prioritize older adults and people with disabilities. We did this by creating home service and by going room to room in nursing homes. These are 2 services that we continue today. We carried that further with lobby service, which is that rolling bookshelf model that I talked about. With lobby service, we recognize that climbing in and out of a bookmobile is not accessible for many older adults and people with disabilities, so we bring the library inside. And then more recently, even more recently, we're centering equity by promoting our Books by Mail program in neighborhoods with the most seniors of color. And by updating our criteria for preschools to receive service, we're meeting our goals of reaching children from low-income families, children of color, and kids with disabilities.
So just out of curiosity, if somebody wanted to obtain their books by mail, how do they do that?
Well, initially, they just need to contact the library. They can do that through their branch library or by calling Quick Information. And they'll get referred to us where we'll have a chat with them on the phone and basically just talk about their needs, and we'll register them for the service. We have a short application that we send out to them to get started.
So it sounds pretty simple.
We try to make it as simple as possible.
So Carrie, the library partners with many organizations in the community. Tell me about the community partnerships that mobile services builds.
Every retirement home we visit and low-income housing community and childcare center that we visit with each month is really a partner. We rely on them and their parent organizations like Seattle Housing Authority and Seattle Public Schools for our success and for meeting the needs of their residents, their children, and families that they serve as well. Recently, through equity work, we confirmed that we were not seeing as many seniors of color in the retirement homes we visit as we would like. And this is for a variety of reasons. Elders in communities of color often live in multi-generational households, and to reach them, we needed to partner with the places where they gather outside the home. One such place is Club Bamboo. It's hosted by ACRS, the Asian Counseling and Referral Service. And Club Bamboo is a meal and social space for older adults in the Vietnamese community. We have library staff who speak Vietnamese, who curate a collection of books and DVDs, and they bring them there once a month for a visit. We found that as a result, our Vietnamese collection is circulating more than ever before. And the presence of mobile services in conjunction with ESL classes and citizenship classes has really raised the profile of the library in the local Vietnamese community. And my colleague tells me that when he's out and about going to the grocery store, going to church, people approach him and talk to him about the library now.
Great, that must be pretty rewarding to see. Tell us about some of the challenges in delivering mobile services. Like, how do you do this work? Do you have, these big carts, I just can imagine them being pushed into a lobby of a retirement center. So tell us about some of the challenges in your work.
You bet, you bet. I will talk about those carts. People might be surprised by how much prep work actually goes into getting these vehicles prepped and ready to go out every day. For each day that I'm out on one of the vehicles, I have a corresponding day in the office. I'm doing things like placing holds for people who have a standing order with us. In mobile, we place over 20,000 holds annually, which is second only to Central. I'm also doing things like preparing collections for the trucks. So I'm pulling those books to go out on those book carts and also to fill the shelves of the Bookmobile. I'm also registering people for services like Books by Mail, like we talked about. And I'm planning programs like our one-on-one tech help for mobile patrons. But this ends up being a really nice mix because, as you alluded to, it can be pretty physical work. Those book carts that we bring into lobby service are 300 pounds when they're fully loaded. So if you add a little rain and an uneven sidewalk into the mix, it can get kind of tricky. But we have a really great team, which is really critical because it can also be like having an 8-hour road trip with your colleagues every day.
Sounds like you really love your job and your team does too.
They're the best.
Great. Can you share a story about how your program has impacted some of our Seattle neighbors?
Sure. I have a couple of small stories I'd like to share. One of which is about a foundation-funded program that we've been running for the past 3 years, and that is to loan iPads with instruction optional to low-income seniors to help them improve their digital literacy and to increase access and connection. And let me tell you, people love their iPads, and they often can't wait to show me what they've been doing with them over the previous month. A couple of my favorites are one gentleman who shared pictures of his family with me from the Philippines after reconnecting with them on social media, and a woman who's been using her iPad to rediscover her passions for photography and politics, and sometimes both of them at once. But I really love it when our work brings people and generations together, as in those examples. One of my favorite stops is an assisted living facility that I've personally been visiting for 15 years. And at that site, they have a childcare center as well. And so we bring books for preschoolers too. And so it's really neat. During our visit, the older residents are browsing around, checking out books and DVDs, and the kids are excitedly digging through the tote of picture books. And then the magic really happens when one of the seniors starts to read to the kids and a spontaneous story time breaks out.
That's great. I mean, those are types of services like maybe we should start renaming the Bookmobile to the iPad Mobile based on how people like it.
Some people feel that way about it. Some people might also call it the hotspot mobile.
Oh, great. So those are the Wi-Fi hotspots that you distribute as well?
Yes. People can reserve those just like they could through the regular hold system, and we'll bring them out to them.
So many options for services that you can get through the Bookmobile, thanks to Seattle Public Library. Well, Carrie, I think I speak for all of our viewers when I say that we are grateful for the connection and bond between the librarians and all the people of Seattle who see your faces and benefit from the work you do. So thank you for that. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, and we are lucky today to have Carrie with us. So we're going to ask Carrie to unmute your video and audio. And we are so impressed with the services of mobile services and how they help achieve the library's mission. So we would love to get the questions from our viewers, and we've had a couple of questions that already come in. So again, for folks on the line, go ahead and use the Q&A feature and post your question in there, and then we'll direct that to Carrie. So Carrie, a couple of questions have already come in. One is, can you give us a little update on sort of the status of mobile services within the, in the pandemic world? So I believe last week you started services up again. So just kind of give us an update on where things stand right now.
That's right. That's right. Because of the types of facilities that we visit regularly, we actually closed down our lobby service before the library even closed. We closed down about a week beforehand, and all we were doing was books by mail. And then once the library closed, we had to discontinue doing that as well. And we pretty much started planning how we were going to resume service before we even really closed. We were already thinking about it. So we were really lucky in that we had kind of a range of options depending on what the health advisory status was as soon as we were able to start resuming services. So last week, as you said, we have started to deliver to all of our partner facilities, so retirement homes, nursing homes, some of the low-income buildings, as they are willing and able to accommodate our service. So what we're doing is it's a no-contact delivery, where we have staff on site that we can partner with as much as possible. We're just exchanging materials with them. So really what we're doing is we're restoring access to materials for folks that have not had that for the last few months and who are not going to be able to use curbside necessarily. We've also resumed books by mail, and we are starting to send out deposits to child care centers. So we're not able to invite kids and their teachers onto a bookmobile to pick out books themselves yet, but what we'll do is we'll tailor a deposit for a classroom based on themes that they might be working on in their class. So that's really exciting. Resuming service means that we get to reach out to all of our patrons individually pretty much. There isn't really any other way to do it. So we're getting to call and email everybody. And there's people that I haven't gotten to see or talk to in many months. And it's been a lot of fun to check in on people. We did a little bit of a check-in midway through the closure, but it's been really exciting to get back on the road, really exciting to call people with good news. People in many cases who are pretty isolated right now, just like a lot of us are. So yeah, I'm excited to be back on the road. It's great.
That's great. And I think a lot of people may not really understand how much planning has gone into getting services up and running, and to be able to do that in a really safe environment for both library staff and the people that you're serving. So congratulations on getting that up and running.
Yeah, if I didn't really emphasize that before, we are doing no contact delivery. That means we ask people to put anything that needs to go back to the library outside their door. We pick that up, we drop off anything new we might have for them, and yes, no contact.
Great. So question that's come in is about checkout times. So are the checkout times for mobile services the same as the regular books in the branches?
Yes, it is. Checkout time for mobile borrowers is 5 weeks, and that's to accommodate the monthly schedule that we run on.
Oh, I see. Okay,
yep.
So great. And then another question about, given the popularity of devices and whatnot, do you take donations of iPods or iPads?
That's a great question. I don't know. We do not take donations directly in that way to mobile. I will say that we have our iPad program that we've been running for the last few years, which is foundation funded, and those devices are reaching the end of their lifespan. So we are looking for funding for the next technology that we'll be loaning out to mobile borrowers. But we do not, as far as I'm aware, take direct donations of technology like that, I'm
I,
afraid.
I know that there's a lot of like specialized software that they put on them so you can track the checkout and track the device and all that. So I realize how that could be a little bit of a technical challenge. So talk to us a little bit about sort of like, this fleet of vehicles. Where do they like? I work at Central and I see them down in the loading dock quite often. But are they housed at Central, or do you have a fleet place where you keep all of them, or how's that work?
Sure. Um, so the Bookmobile, the walk-on children's Bookmobile, that lives at Central, and it in fact plugs in at Central to keep all the batteries charged. It's not an electric vehicle, but that lives at Central, and our little van tends to live at Central. That's the van that we do home deliveries and deposits to adult family homes. And then the two sort of cargo trucks, I guess you might call them, they are often parked off-site depending on our schedule. And we actually have a new place where we're parking them that I have not seen, and I only know it by its acronym, so I can't even tell you details about it, but I think it's in Georgetown.
That's the new facility the library
Yeah.
bought for processing materials and all that. So can you talk? We've got another question about the criteria for the books by mail program. Can you tell us, like you mentioned, there is a short application that somebody fills out, but can you tell us a little bit more about what that criteria looks like?
Sure. So like you said, there is a short application, and that is asking people essentially to self-identify that they have a situation that is preventing them from using their local library, their local branch, for 6 months or longer. Um, we're looking at that right now in the era of curbside, but essentially that means if you have a long-term illness or a disability or some other circumstance that means that you can't use the local branch, get a hold of us. We'll have a short conversation to not so much determine eligibility, but just to explain the program to you and send that application out. And as soon as we get it back, we get back in touch with you and let you know that you're ready to start using the service.
So
Does that answer that
yeah,
question?
I think that was great, and I was struck by how deep of relationships you establish with your patrons. And so it just sounds like that happens for many from the start of the time that they enroll and throughout the service delivery.
I was really happy to see the picture of Roberta at the beginning of the slideshow, who's a big Books by Mail patron, and I thought it was really cool that she is participating in this.
Great, great. So another question about sort of the training of mobile services librarians, the training of your staff. Do you guys receive specialized training to do this type of work, or is it just talk to us about sort of the industry of mobile services?
Well, I would love to give a plug for our national organization, which is ABOS, the Association of Bookmobiles and Outreach Services, I believe. There's an annual conference every year. It's a great time. It's been growing every year since the organization has been around, I think for 18 years, but don't quote me on that. So that is a really excellent resource for anybody who's already in the library world and is thinking about this kind of work. I think, a lot of it is like a lot of things. It's a learning by doing. Of course, we have additional safety, kind of unique safety concerns, like those big heavy book trucks. And you're working in a different environment. You're creating a library wherever you go, and you need to be both flexible and firm, and really capable of improvising, but no special training.
Okay. And how would you say, like, how would you say Seattle's mobile services program compares to other urban libraries? Because I'm imagining that, you know, bookmobiles are important for, especially important for people in rural communities who may have, you know, significant barriers to access, but also in urban communities it's much different. So can you just maybe share a little bit about the difference between the two?
Sure. As you alluded to with rural bookmobile or mobile departments, it is much more about kind of, you know, taking a branch and putting it someplace where there isn't a branch library. It really is about that kind of access. And urban bookmobiles and mobile services are oftentimes much more focused on different equity concerns. So focusing on serving people with other barriers to access that are not the same as just transportation in a rural community. It's you know, it's socioeconomic demographics, it's age, it's disability, it's low income, really trying to reach out to community.
Great, great. Let me look at my questions here. So what does a day in the life of a mobile service librarian look like right now?
Right
Typical day.
now,
Yeah.
right now, a day in the life of a mobile services librarian is juggling a lot of little details, because we did a lot of thinking when the library closed about what reopening was going to look like for us. So we had a plan. It's implementing the plan, and like so many of us, you know, we all had to learn how to do our job, or, you know, do a totally new job in some ways when the closure happened. And now we're kind of reinventing our job and our service all over again. You know, the core remains the same. We are reaching out to folks. We are providing access to materials and services. It's just finding new ways of doing it. And at the moment, that just requires a lot of detail.
Great. And one final question. How do you select non-hold books that go out to the branches?
How do we select non-hold books that go out to our patrons?
Yeah, or I'm sorry, to the locations that you're serving.
Sure.
See, there's my habit going right back to branches, even though we're talking about mobile services.
So under ordinary circumstances, we have the book carts, and we also have the books on the bookmobile, and those are all hand selected by us. The books that are going out on the children's bookmobile are all screened, essentially. We flip through them, especially for me, who's not a children's librarian. So when I'm picking out books for that bookmobile, I'm looking for things that are really geared for a preschool audience. So everything on that truck is really preschool appropriate. So the kids could grab and find something that's going to fit for them. And then for the adults, same thing. We're also hand picking all of those books and movies and audiobooks. Just thinking about our people, you know, and I think I said in the video, about half of the books we bring are large print. We always have peak picks with us, which, you know, I know they go like gangbusters in the branches, but they do in mobile as well. There are people that know we have them, and they come straight for them. And then it's popular reading, it's bestsellers, it's you know, I like finding something that I'm like, I wonder who this is going to be for, and putting that on the shelf and getting to hand sell it to them later. Or even having that special patron in mind when I put something on the shelf and think, I hope I see her today, because I'm going to have something for her.
That's wonderful. Well, on that note, Carrie, we have learned so much, but we'd like to respect everybody's time and close here. I would like to thank each of you for your incredible support to our library. Donor support helps make mobile services possible, and we're so thrilled to hear that such a large number of our neighbors seek out access to knowledge through the mobile services program. I think it's that desire to learn that makes the people of Seattle special, and we're so glad that your team is doing the work to connect them. So if you'd like to learn more about mobile services, visit spl.org/mobile services, and they have their webpage set up there that'll talk all about the different components. Carrie, thank you for sharing your time with us and your experience. So much of the library's work happens behind the scenes, and we're always grateful to get a look at the inner workings of the library. To all of our viewers, when you leave this webinar, you'll see a quick prompt to fill out a survey. We'd love your feedback. It's really short, and we always like to know what we could do a little bit better when we host these events. And lastly, we're in the process of planning several author events coming up for September and October, and our details of those will be finalized soon. So we'll be sure to send out an invitation to email. So as always, keep an eye on your inbox, and we'll be communicating those opportunities to you when they're finalized. Again, we celebrate you, the staff of the library, who make the library so special, and most of all, our public who utilize our library to learn and grow. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful one. Take care.